Well, hello there, you lovely Lego addicts, and welcome to this video. Basically, this hopefully is going to be a bit like an in-practice lighting tip video for Lego light kits. I've been wanting to light up my Diagon Alley for a really long time. It's just not something I've gotten around to. So I thought today would be the perfect day to kind of have a look at all of the different light kits available for Diagon Alley. Talk you through how I would select one, just because there is a lot to consider, and as you will know if you've watched my video on, light kits yay or nay, you know there's lots of things that you have to weigh up because you can't find the perfect option. You're going to have to see which thing is most important. So as you can see, I've got a few pages up for this one. So I'm going to be looking at the Light My Bricks option, the light detailing option, the Bricks Max option, the Game of Bricks option, and I was also going to have a look at the Light Go page, but for a little while now I've had a little sneaky suspicion that they are the same-ish company as Game of Bricks, just because when you go to any of their products generally they have the same images, and as you can see here, this image is kind of the same as this image, just slightly differently cropped, and it's the same for the way it's lit up. So I don't know, I just think that they're probably the same one. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna just be looking at the Game of Bricks option because, it's like comparing the two, and the one on Game of Bricks is way cheaper than the one on the Light Go. So that is basically what my consideration is there. Alright, I'm going to start with the most expensive option because basically this is the one that I really wanted originally a few years ago when I kind of thought about lighting this set up, and then I kind of had a slightly change of priority. I think this one looks really nice. I think in the picture it looks quite bright, but I think if you turn the brightness down it would be a bit different. I honestly think it's beautiful. I really like the way that they've really sympathetically lit everything up with all kind of like really natural light. So my preference with light kits is natural lighting, so lights that you would find if you were out in a shopping street yourself. I'm generally not a very big fan of a lot of coloured lights. That is obviously my personal preference. That doesn't make a light kit good or bad. It's just what I personally like about a light kit. So especially with Diagon Alley, where I'm wanting to create sort of like a magical feeling, I am going for a bit of realism though. And if we just scroll through these images of Light My Bricks, you can see that interior wise they've actually lit up the lamps as well and the candles, which I think is a really nice touch. And then when you move on to like some of the other buildings, they've lit up the little lights, they lit up the like name signs of things. All of those little smaller details really, to me, makes it feel more thought through, and is something that I really appreciate. I don't love this picture here of the Frozen Fortescue bookshop, just because I think because of the way the picture is taken, you can see the lights just underneath that sort of like, just above this window here. So it looks really bright, and I've had that issue before. I think because of where my Diagon Alley is, those lights would sit like in the same place as obviously on the picture, but because of the way I look at it, I wouldn't see that as much. But I'm not a huge fan of that light. Obviously we know that Light by Bricks comes as individual elements, so you always have the option to leave lights off that you don't like. I've done that previously with other brands because I am quite fussy, if I'm honest. For example, with my Sanctum Sanctorum set, I took quite a few lights away that I didn't like. So I may do a similar thing here, but this is the premium light kit. And compared to basically some of the other prices, it's kind of double or triple the price. So for me to kind of already say, I don't love this light, I may want to change it, makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because it is quite an expensive light kit. It just is. So here we have the way that they lit up the Weasley's shops. I think it's quite fun. I quite like that the face is lit up. It's a little bit spooky, but I like that there's some coloured lights in this shop. Even though I say I don't love coloured lights, I think it's appropriate in the Weasley shop just because obviously it's more of a joke shop. It's a bit more different. So I quite like that effect. And there is a really nice video later on as well where you can kind of see the type of lights, because that is quite important to me as well. So there is a video on this page which I personally think is a fantastic idea to do when you're trying to sell a light kit, because obviously I want to see what it looks like in person. So this is what sold it for me originally. So as you can see straight away, there is like a flickering light in the Weasley shop. There is some other really nice little effect lights as well, which I love, if you look at Ollivander's building in particular, you can see that they've used effect lights in the candles which are flickering and give it a candle lit quality. And honestly, that is something that I really, really like, because that makes it feel more like effectively the Harry Potter set that I love. So this is something that currently looking at this makes me go, oh, that's really nice. That's a really like sympathetic way of lighting this up. So anything that's an actual candle in the set is lit up as a candle. Now that is the £159 set, so basically £160 for this set of lights. That personally, though I think it's a price that's they're fair to charge that, I find that really uncomfortable, because that is a lot of money. That is basically, for that same amount of money, I can buy the A-frame cabin, and I kind of feel like I probably would likely want to buy a Lego set for that money rather than a light kit, especially knowing that I will need some DIY elements for my custom building that I have in Diagon Alley, and we may see some extensions, so that I tie myself into a really expensive way of lighting up my Diagon Alley. So I think this has been beautifully done. I think it's really sympathetic to the set, but the price tag makes me quite uncomfortable. So then if I go on to my other option, which is Brixmax, I personally really do like Brixmax. I think it's quite customizable, which generally I want to do with their lights kits, because they never really come in the exact way that I want them. So I think this one looks quite nice. I don't think that the photo they took is the best, because the way they've lit the set from the sides kind of gives it a really weird quality. I don't know why they did that. Here we have some more images. So as you can see, there's light at the top of this building here, but I think that's just because there's somebody off camera that's holding a light onto this building so you can see it better, which isn't the most helpful when you're trying to sell a light kit and see what's inside. But I think at the moment, as far as I can see, there's a few nice lights in here. It's not as colourful as the other one, but I think it's okay. It looks quite nice. Then going on to Ollivander's, I think the lights in this building aren't as nice, personally. I think this feels a bit more cold, even though obviously the light is shining through the yellow windows that the set has anyway. I feel like this is likely lit up with the white light, the cool white, rather than the warm white. It just hasn't got that sort of like warm, inviting feeling. And there is no light here by the sign, which I really liked in the Light My Bricks light kit, because that is sort of like the point, right? If you're trying to sell things, you want people to see your sign. So this feels quite cold and sort of dark to me compared to some of the other one that we saw. Here are the interiors. Again, I'm not personally a huge fan of the cool white lights, and I think in this shop, again in particular, I don't think the cool white is right for Harry Potter. It needs to be sort of like candlelight, warmer, flickering, that kind of quality, just because that's more likely for it to be. Also, I don't think lights up here in this attic bit are necessary, just because you would only see them from behind, and actually from the front those windows have solid pieces in, so you wouldn't see the light shine through. So I think that's a little bit of a waste of lights, if I'm honest. But it looks like if you have it displayed from the back, that may be nicer, because you may want to see it then, but I've displayed it from the front, so it's a light that I just probably wouldn't need. Then again, here are some better interior shots. Those are really not great photographs, but I think this looks fine. The interior for Weasley's looks fantastic, absolutely cool. Not as intricate as the Light My Bricks one, obviously, but I don't like that there's the bright white ones and how obvious the lights are in this bit for Florian and Fortescue. I think that is a real shame. I think that's not very well attached, and yeah, that's kind of putting me off a little bit, if I'm honest. I think the bright white works in the shop area just because it's an ice cream parlour, so the coolness is okay because it's kind of the feeling you get in an ice cream parlour. But in the apartment itself, that feels way too bright, way too low down, and just not quite the feel that I'm after. But just bearing in mind, this is half the price of the one that we were looking for before, and that is something that is changeable. You don't have to attach that light there if you don't want to. So here again, for my opinion, I just think there is too many cool white lights for these interiors. Like here, you can see that this light on the table isn't being lit up. Kind of similar here, you see that it's an overhead light, not the actual interior lights that have been lit up. And similar sort of here. So you can already see there's a huge difference between the Light My Bricks light kit, especially interior wise, and this one. Obviously, which colour white you choose to light up an interior with is a personal preference, but you can see the difference in quality and intricacy. And that's something that I tried to kind of talk about in my original video, because that is something to really be aware of and see what your preferences are. But I think when you look at these things, that is where the effect comes from. You're trying to give it a feel, and depending on what you want to try and do for your city, if you want a really bright disco city with lots of different coloured lights, that is totally cool, but you just need to be aware that if that's your preference, where can you find that set? So I always would recommend comparing various brands to find which one you think looks nicest. I think this is quite nice done. At least they've lit up this little lantern up here. I think the picture was taken too quickly because they didn't actually attach the bricks very well, which is a shame. That isn't the first time that I've seen that in actual promotional pictures. But overall, I think this one looks okay. It's just not my favourite. I do like that they've lit up these two lights above the Quidditch set. I'm glad that that was done. But overall, I think this one is a little bit like, nah. It's not as amazing as I like my bricks version, but it also isn't terrible because I could change some of the elements that I don't like. But then I am going to be spending more than the actual price tag because there are some extra elements that I'd like to buy. Currently, I am unconvinced that this is right for me. So let's move on to the lighttailing version. So this is on the same website because Brickmax and lighttailing are on the same website, but lighttailing just generally has a slightly different way of giving you the lights. They're already attached to a long string rather than individual elements. So generally lighttailing wouldn't be my first choice. However, if I get the feel that I want from their set, then I'm willing to put up with that. So I went straight up. I think this looks really good. It has that light in Ollivander's above the sign, which I really wanted. They have some light up elements, some of the actual lanterns are lit up, but you can see here on the Quidditch set building, you can really obviously see a cable, and that's sort of like a thing that I don't like, and that's something that's more tricky with lighttailing because the cables have to go from light to light to light. It's harder to hide them, and I'm not a huge fan of how obvious that cable is there because I don't think, especially for a Diagon Alley set, we don't really want to see cables because it's not really in universe. I can sort of sometimes forgive it on a modular because you can see electrical cables in real cities too, but in a Diagon Alley set, that's just not quite what I like. Then we move on. I think there's a lot of really nice lights for the front of this. I really like how they lit up Florian Fortescue. I love that they've added a light above the door for the Daily Prophet. I think that looks really nice. I see a lot of warm white, which is what I like. However, this is an issue for me. This is so green. Why is it green? I don't like that it's green. I think the only reason that it's green is because there is one light above the window that is green. So actually, I think normally with a light kit, I would say you can probably remove it. This being lighttailing though, it may not be possible because it may be part of a very long string of lights and you may have to attach it there because there's other lights that you need at the other end. So this is kind of an issue. Just because I know what lighttailing is like, I would be concerned that I couldn't hide or take this out. Whereas with the Brickmax, I know at least that I can probably just not install it because I can just not have that cable connected. I could just get a different cable to string across. Whereas with this one, it's probably part of a longer light strip. So I have to do that. And I don't like that at all. That's probably my main problem with this one, actually. Because in general, I think this one has done a really good job of the exterior lighting. It has sort of the feel that I wanted, but I find that that green thing, that one green light, kind of ruins it for me, which is a shame. It's a huge shame. Individually, I think the lights look really nice. The interiors are well lit up. Yes, not so many individual lights here, but I think overall it looks nice. I'm quite excited. They've lit up some interior details in the houses themselves. Not everything, as you can see with the candle, but it looks good. But you can see some cables. You can always see some cables, let's be honest, but it's quite obvious there. This is a much better choice of light for this area, I think. It's much warmer. But as I said, much more warm things. I just really wish there weren't these two green lights as part of fluorescent blots. I think that's such a shame. Oh my goodness. And this is why this is really tricky because I'm so fussy. But yeah, overall, I think they've done a good job. It's just the green lights for fluorescent blots that are currently putting me off. But generally, I think this is a really good option for the price. It's only $60, so especially at the minute, there's a sale on as well. Honestly, a very good price for what it is. Just bearing in mind, though, that this is lighttailing, so you're going to have a lot of USB things that you need to connect together in order to light it all up. So here you have a picture of the actual strings that you get. So as you can see, there's 4 strings of lights. So because it's 4 buildings or 4 half base plates, that is 1 string of lights per building, which means that what I said about you can't just remove one of the lights if you don't like it, is true, because you can't, it's a string, so if you take a light out, you've broken the string, so nothing beyond that point is going to work. So just bear that in mind. Alright, so that is light tailing. So on to the last option. So we have Game of Bricks. Now if you've been paying attention during this whole video, you will know that this puts me off. And this is again why I haven't yet purchased one, because there's with every single one of them there's something that puts me off of them, if it's the price or if it's the way they've lit it up. So here we have a really nice attempt at the Ollivander shop. I think this has a really warm and lovely feel. I think this looks fantastic. Why is Scribblers blue? This is my question. I want to know. It makes no sense. It would be very inconvenient shopping in a shop that is lit up in blue lights. Yeah, that is a huge shame. And then there is a lot of red lights here in Quality Quidditch Supply, and a lot of green lights in Flourish and Blots, and that's such a shame. This set, though all of the other buildings look very nice, there is a lot of cables on show at the minute here, and there, but also there is a lot of coloured lights, and as I've just said, I am personally not a fan of coloured lights. As you can see here with the interiors, there is just so much colour. I just don't want colour. It's not for me. So this is a very quick no, sadly, just because I don't want the colours in my light kits for Diagon Alley. I'm really sorry. That is just my opinion. So there we go. This is a really good encapsulation of like what I do when I look at light kits, and actually at the moment, having compared all of these, I personally think that for myself and for my comfort level, the Light My Bricks one is too expensive, even though that is definitely my absolute favourite of the ones that I've compared. So for the moment, I think I may leave lighting up Diagon Alley and see if I can just get some DIY elements instead to do it myself. It probably isn't going to be as good as it would be if I bought the whole light kit from Light My Bricks, but I'm currently just not comfortable spending £160 on a light kit, just a light kit. However, I still hope that you enjoyed me talking you through how I would consider light kits and what I would look at, things that I think about and how they work. If you have any questions about selecting your own light kits, do let me know, but just bear in mind, I personally don't have an opinion that one brand is good or bad. I just think every brand has their own pluses and minuses, pros and cons, so you really need to know what you want to get out of your light kit. Do you want an easy to install thing? Do you want something that is very customizable? Do you want colour? Do you want lots of features? There is loads to consider. So just make sure that you have all of those things, obviously price as well. Just make sure that you've thought about all of those things. Make sure you always do a good amount of shopping around. There's always generally some offers. If you are interested in any of the things that I've mentioned, there is some links down below. I have some affiliate links with Brickmax, Light Tailing and Game of Bricks, but these are all obviously my opinions. And yeah, I will try and help if I can. Don't forget to watch the light kit yay or nay video if you want to learn more about light kits, and I will see you really soon in the next one, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. Goodbye! Howdo! Oh my goodness. I see how it is.
They both.
Yep.
Are they? Oh, is that Mary?
Yep.
Yeah.